Hello and welcome, beloveds, to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. MumbiSeraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you are moving into living life truly on your own terms. We really want to thank everyone that supports us on our PayPal and our Patreon accounts. We wouldn't be able to do this show without you. Go ahead and consider joining us for as little as $2 a month so that we can continue supporting our research team, our editors, etc., to bring you all the relevant news from global Black Africa, because the awakening is now here. I'm seeing wake up everywhere. It's just like the awakening of our people is happening in earnest. It cannot be stopped. And it's really time for us to choose our kingdom, or to choose our nation, and to focus on what that nation is doing. There's a nation that is being destroyed right now, that is literally imploding. But there is also a nation that is being birthed and is going through its birthing pains. Neither journey is easy if you start from now, but ultimately one will, survive and thrive. But those are definitely stories for other days. Now, amazing news coming out of the divided states, where support for a program to pay reparations to descendants of slaves is actually gaining momentum, and but they're saying that it could actually cost the U.S. government 12 trillion dollars, and they said 142 members of Congress have supported the HR 40 bill to study reparations, and there's someone called William Derrity, professor of public policy at Duke University, who estimated a concrete program could cost the U.S. government between 10 and 12 trillion dollars, and that was basically what they'd be going with. Now, about 10 years ago, only 4% of Muzungus in the divided states actually supported reparations, but they're saying with the Black Lives Matter movement, that number has actually risen to 1 in 10 or 10%, still a minor thing. Because you see, the way history is taught to everyone, both Black and white people, if you want to call them that, the way that history is taught, it makes them feel like they are justified. It removes the guilt. It removes it removes the shame. It removes the inhumanity of what happened, and instead sugarcoats it to make them think that their ancestors came to help ours, and we were subhuman. Now that subhuman thing, we've actually found out we're superhuman. That's a whole other story. But you see, now the narrative that they have been fed is that they were doing us a favor, they were coming to save the world. But when they actually find out for real, that they have been the destroyers all along, hey, it's going to take a lot for some not to have a mental breakdown. I'm serious. Because it's like everything. Imagine if it's better you're told everything is a lie, but you're down there. But imagine if you're told everything is a lie and you'd been put up there, and then you realize, whoa, no, actually, we're the ones from caves. Actually, we're the descendants of monkey stories. So that is. Let me stop talking about that. So, definitely different things have been proposed. Some senior fellow at Cato Institute, he actually said, our national debt is already now up to around 26 to 27 trillion, given the money we're spending on coronavirus, and we're losing more money because we're not picking up the revenue because of economic growth is slow right now. This hardly seems the time to burden the economy with more debt, more taxes. Essentially, what you want to do is stimulate economic growth for all benefits. But what they found is that systematically, the white supremacy system in the divided states has disenfranchised, our African American brothers and sisters. Even after, first of all, there were some that even kept their slaves even after slavery was over. They just didn't know it was over. So the slave owners didn't tell them. So they kept working for like 20, 30 years. I think there's a particular town. I'll look for that story and share it in our Africa 101. But secondly, now information is emerging that even in the 60s and 70s, when the Mzungus were getting really, really low, they were buying houses for nothing. They were even getting, grants and loans to buy houses for less than even, I think, $5,000. Now those houses are worth 200, 300, 400. And this is how the Muzungu was helped to build generational wealth. And these programs were specifically white only. So an African American couldn't buy a house at an affordable rate, even though they could afford it. So reparations is a discussion that must be had. And it's interesting that Congress is supporting it. The only thing that I was like, is guess who's behind it? Joe Biden. I was just like, because the Democrats, they've already taken the Black Lives Matter movement. They hijacked that. A lot of the money that was actually invested in that was funneled. It was like a money laundering campaign. As much as it really had, it sparked anti-racism campaigns across the world and really helped to shift some of the mentalities here in Africa. It was basically hijacked, and it was a massive money laundering where, very few Black people actually benefited from the program. And if you even look deeper, it's not really about the Black family, but it's more, anyway, divide and conquer. Do your research. There's a lot of really good videos even on here on this platform that will share that with you. But let me know what you think. Reparations for our African American brothers and sisters to the tune of $12 trillion, although now the government is saying they may not have the money. Does that sound like a good enough figure to you? The 4 acres and a mule? I'd love to hear from my brothers and sisters. Until next time, tuko pamoja.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr.MumbiSeraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I pray you're well in all your ways and that you are living your best life. Thanks to everybody who subscribes and comments and shares our videos. We appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks to all my Patreon and PayPal families. You guys are amazing. Thanks for your support. Now, some interesting news coming out of the European Parliament. So as you know, the European Parliament has actually been meeting this week. I think it's their major conference or summit or whatever. And they have actually signed a resolution where they are calling for reparations of Africa. I was like, am I dreaming? Seriously, you guys, at this point, I'm also starting to think, how come all these things are happening? How come everyone is apologizing and whatever? And first of all, we can't need apologies, as my grandmother, as my shosho grandmother would say. So, but what happened is that the European Parliament overwhelmingly backed a watershed resolution calling for reparations for crimes committed in Africa during European colonialism. Now, 535 members of the European Parliament were actually signed for the resolution. About 44 were absent and 80 signed against. But that's unprecedented. That's a huge number. And so they basically had three major points that they were calling for. Number one, they said that the declassification of colonial archives and the issue of public apologies. Now, I just found out when they said that actually a lot of these former colonial governments have classified their worst atrocities of, the colonial era. So there's certain periods where, the most disturbing periods, that's what they called them, which have not been opened up to the public. So what they were calling for is that these should be made, these should be declassified, they should be made available to the public, and then a public apology should be made. But I'm just like, they did more. So what we know is only what we know, but they did more. Like, how traumatizing is that? So the second thing they said is they urged the EU member states to introduce a series of sweeping reforms aimed at tackling structural racism facing millions of Afro-Europeans. And lastly, they called for nationwide strategies to deal with discrimination in education, health, housing policies, policing, because the same police brutality that's happening in the US is the same thing that's happening in a lot of European countries. It's absolutely sick and atrocious. In fact, during the break, I'll show you this video that I just got from the UK of this plainclothes policeman literally pulling an American cop on this young African, he literally looks like a boy or a teenage boy, and it makes you wonder, you know. I copy pasting, because I read somewhere that actually the U.S., the Chicago cops had actually either, I think they'd gone to the U.K. and also to South Africa to kind of exchange notes on how to, how to deal with us. I mean, come on, let's not be, but those are stories for other days. So they said, because a lot of these Afro-Europeans, now they're claiming the Afro-Europeans have actually, they continue to suffer. We've seen a lot of discrimination, especially with the huge Muslim influx into Europe right now. The traditional African, the ones who have been there longer, kind of get caught up in that. Anyway, we'll see what happens. What do you guys think? This is unprecedented.